Welcome to this tutorial through the key elements and writing requirements you'll need to prepare a strong and successful four-generation project. I'm Bonnie Wade Musia, an accredited genealogist professional in the New England region of the United States. Before beginning, be sure to download or print the guide for applying for an accredited genealogist credential. This guide can be found at the ICAPGen website, and here is the QR code which will take you directly to the guide. Let's look at the writing requirements for the four-generation project, where every candidate begins the ICAPGen accreditation process. Strong writing is central to this submission because it demonstrates your ability to produce a clear, polished, client-ready report. Today we'll review those requirements and talk through practical tips to help ensure your writing reflects professional standards. The four-generation project is designed to showcase your professional research skills. It's where you demonstrate that you can plan, conduct, and document research at the level expected of a professional genealogist. It also tests your ability to write and organize information in a logical, client-ready format. Your report should communicate your findings as well as your reasoning. Another component is your ability to correlate and analyze records across generations, connecting evidence from multiple sources to prove relationships. And finally, you'll apply regional expertise. That means understanding laws, geography, and migration patterns that shape the record you're using and explaining how those factors impact your analysis. Even the best research loses its impact if it isn't written clearly. Good writing is how you share your findings in a way a client can understand, turning complex research into a clear, readable report. It also shows your professionalism and your ability to think logically through the evidence. The way you explain your reasoning matters just as much as the sources you use. Strong writing has a rhythm. When your analysis flows smoothly from one point to the next, your reader can follow your argument without getting lost in the details. And finally, a polished, professional report is what elevates your work to the level expected of an accredited genealogist. It shows mastery not just of research, but of communication. Your report should read like a professional document from start to finish. That means it's free from spelling, grammar, and formatting errors, and consistent in tone and style. Always write in third person to maintain a professional voice. And use active voice whenever possible so your writing feels clear and direct. Keep your sentences tight and well constructed. Aim for around 20 words or fewer. 2 or 3 shorter sentences are often better than one long one. And remember to mix up your sentence length a little bit. Variety keeps your writing interesting and helps the reader stay engaged from beginning to end. Here's an example of how to correct this. The sentence on the left reads, "In 1798, Samuel Brown purchased 100 acres in Worcester County, and in 1805 he sold part of the land to his brother, while in 1810 another deed recorded him selling the remainder." The example on the right reads, "In 1798, Samuel Brown purchased 100 acres in Worcester County. In 1805 he sold part of the land to his brother. By 1810 he had sold the remainder." Can you see the improvement? Start by organizing your report with clear headings and subheadings. They help your reader navigate the material and quickly understand where each section begins and ends. Next, connect your ideas with smooth transitions. Each paragraph should naturally lead to the next, showing how your evidence builds towards your conclusion. Keep your formatting consistent. Consistency gives your report a professional appearance and helps viewers focus on the content, not distractions. Use appropriate spacing and font sizes, 11 or 12 point for the body and 9 or 10 point for the footnotes. It's a small detail that makes a big difference in readability. And finally, keep your tone professional. Avoid flowery or emotional language. This isn't creative writing. Let the strength of your evidence speak for itself. When you present your research, include enough detail from each source so the reader can follow your logic. Don't assume they've seen the record. Show just enough of the wording or context to make your reasoning clear. Next, group your discussion by the proof you're building, not the record type. Organizing this way keeps your argument focused on the question you're solving rather than simply summarizing sources. Be careful with excessive use of pronouns. Remind the reader who each person is and how they're related. That extra clarity prevents confusion, especially when several generations share the same name. And finally, tighten your sentences. Remove unnecessary words. Here's a simple self-check. Ask yourself, is every word in the sentence needed? Can I convey the same meaning without the extra words? Clear and concise writing keeps the focus on your analysis instead of on unnecessary wording. As just one example, try removing the word that. If the sentence still communicates your meaning, without it, leave it out. You can do the same with words like very, now, quite, or particular. Practice writing with fewer words that still convey your point. Here's an example of how removing unnecessary words doesn't change the meaning of the sentence. The example on the left says, in the event of his death, the will clearly specifies that John's estate was divided amongst his children. The example on the right, the will specifies John's estate was divided among his children. See how pulling out the extra words keeps it concise without altering the point? When you write your 4-generation report, imagine you're writing for a client. That means assuming the reader is not familiar with genealogy, research terms, or methodology. Avoid genealogical jargon whenever possible. Instead of labeling something primary or derivative, explain what the record shows and why it matters. Your job is to make the research understandable, not demonstrate terminology. Remember, your reader may also be unfamiliar with the region you're working in. If the laws, geography, or settlement patterns influence the records, briefly explain that context so they understand how it affects your analysis. Your reasoning should be easy to follow, even for someone who has never opened a probate packet or read a land deed. Spell out your logic clearly, step by step, without assuming the reader already knows the background. If a client with no genealogy background could follow your argument and understand your conclusions, you've written at the level iCapGen expects. Consistency gives your report a professional polish. Use past tense when writing about people or historical events, and present tense when referring to records that still exist today. For name spellings, choose one variation for the narrative and use it consistently. Any variations can be explained in footnotes. Keep lists consistent in style and structure. For example, if one bullet starts with a verb, make them all verbs. That balance makes your writing smoother and easier to follow. When using names from other languages, include the correct accent marks or special characters. It shows care, accuracy, and respect for the record as it was written. And finally, maintain consistent spacing and formatting throughout your report. Clean, uniform presentations tell the reader that you pay attention to detail, something every professional genealogist should demonstrate. Here are some common pitfalls to watch for. First, avoid long, dense sentences that bury your point. Keep sentences short and direct. Next, be cautious of excessive genealogical jargon. For example, you don't point out which words are nouns or verbs when writing. In the same way, you don't need to label every source original or derivative in your narrative. Think about how you'd explain it to a client. Use plain words that communicate the record's value, not just its category. Here's an example showing the difference before and after removing genealogical jargon. The example on the left reads, "The will provides direct evidence of heirship and is an original source with primary information about a family relationship." And the example on the right reads, "The will names each of John's children, which directly identifies them as his heirs." Notice how much clearer the second version would be for a client. Another pitfall is passive voice, which weakens your conclusions. Be as direct as possible. Avoid repeating ideas or going off on tangents that pull the reader away from your argument. And finally, avoid writing your report like a travel log that lists every record in the order in which you found it. Instead, organize the narrative around the point you're proving, with the focus on the analysis and correlation. Here's an example of writing a travelogue. First, the 1850 census was searched, and John Smith was enumerated with his wife and children. Next, the 1860 census was consulted, listing the family again, this time with 2 additional children. Then, the 1870 census shows the older children had left the household. Finally, the 1880 census recorded only John and his wife. Here's the same example writing in a proof-focused style. Census records from 1850 through 1880 document John Smith and his wife raising their family in Worcester County, Massachusetts. The records show the household growing as children were born and later shrinking as the older children established their own homes. Taken together, the census evidence confirms John Smith's long-term residence in Worcester County and identifies his children across 4 decades. The 4-Generation Project Checklist is your best tool for making sure you've covered every writing requirement we've discussed today. It gives you a structured way to evaluate your own writing and spot anything that needs improvement. Use it to identify gaps before you submit, things like missing transitions, unclear headings, or sections that wander from the objective. The checklist also helps you to stay focused and consistent. It reminds you to keep your report organized, concise, and centered on the goal of linking 4 generations. Think of it as your final quality check. Reviewing your work against the checklist ensures your writing is polished and professional, just like a client report should be. And finally, the checklist gives you a reliable way to evaluate your own work. When you can check off each item with confidence, you know your report is ready for submission. Using the checklist intentionally, especially the writing and mechanics section, can mean the difference between a solid project and one that truly demonstrates professional readiness. Here are a few practical tips. One of the easiest and most effective proofreading tools is your own voice. Read your report aloud or use text-to-speech. You'll catch awkward phrasing and small errors your eyes tend to skip over. Next, use proofreading tools to polish your draft. Programs like Grammarly, Hemingway Editor, Perfectit, or Passive Voice Detector can help you spot wordy sentences, passive voice, or inconsistent formatting before you submit. Don't underestimate the value of peer review. Ask a study partner or colleague to review your report. They often catch things you've missed after reading it dozens of times. When you're writing, aim for a strong paragraph structure. Start with a clear topic sentence, explain or analyze your evidence, and finish with a conclusion or transition that ties the paragraph to the next idea. Above all, keep your writing clear, concise, and professional. That combination makes your work easy to read and demonstrates the product expected of an accredited genealogist. Your writing is the clearest reflection of your professionalism. It's what shows reviewers and future clients that you can communicate your findings at a professional level. Strong organization makes that possible. Clear headings and smooth transitions guide the reader through your research, showing your reasoning in a logical way. Keeping sentences short and precise make your report readable and engaging. Every word should earn its place. Clarity always wins over complexity. We've also talked about common pitfalls, things like jargon, overly long sentences, and the travelogue approach. Avoiding those habits keep your writing focused. And finally, always proofread. Fresh eyes, whether your own after a break or a trusted peers, can catch small errors and polish your work to a higher standard. When all of these pieces come together, clarity, structure, precision, and professionalism, you're not just meeting the writing requirements, you're showing that you're ready for accreditation. If you'd like additional support, there are several resources available to guide you through the accreditation process. The ICAP Gen Accreditation Mentoring Facebook group offers a collaborative space where candidates can ask questions and share experiences. For structured practice, The 4Generation Study Group is an excellent option, and the iCapGen YouTube channel provides a growing library of instructional videos and walkthroughs. We strongly recommend downloading and using the 4Generation Project Checklist on the iCapGen website. It summarizes every requirement to help you evaluate your own work before submission. Treat it as your roadmap. It will help you stay on track, avoid common pitfalls, and ensure your project meets all the expectations of the accreditation process. For specific questions about the process, you can reach out directly to the testing secretary at testing.secretary@icapgen.org. Taken together, these resources will support you at every stage, from your first draft to your final submission. Whether you're just beginning to explore the accreditation process or are already deep into your 4Generation project, this information will guide your research, strengthen your writing, and help you to move forward with confidence. This is my contact information if you have any questions about this presentation. Thank you.